So in the next session, I want to show you how you can actually use iTunes. So once you loaded iTunes, I'm not an Apple guy, so it might be a little bit different in the handling for you as well. But once you downloaded it, you should see kind of like this here. You have library for you, browse, radio, store, right? And maybe you know the store a little bit from your iTunes app, whatever, and you can browse for podcasts and music and so on. But I want to show you how you can check your own audio files. And also what I wanted to mention again, so in the background you see the free mp3 tag application where you can open those mp3 files, and add it to your library. And please look also at this, that I really took care for the naming, because you can also see here in the title that if you have dollar signs or euro signs, and if you have comma, dash, dash, or whatever, if the file name itself is not clean in alphanumeric variables, etc., then you might run into some issues like that the software or the applications can read it, and also when you upload it later. So make sure that this is really clean in the naming, right? You see here 001 dash, and then comes the naming, and it ends with .mp3. So this is actually what I learned as well. That was kind of funky and giving me headaches, and also brought issues with me. And imagine if you start naming 50 episodes and everything is wrong, and then you decide after you recorded 20 episodes or whatever, now you want to publish it. It's a real pain in the ass, right? To go back into every single file and change the naming, and then changing the meta tags and all this kind of stuff. So it can be tedious. That's once you start, I guess it's really the best if you start really from the beginning with a good understanding also of the file naming. So the next step is, if this is now your iTunes, I was really confused because I said, hey, I'm going to add a file, and to show you this live here, I'm adding it to iTunes. So I open it, and then as you can see, I already decided also here in the settings to set up everything as a podcast. And what I did is I went to the podcast sessions, and I basically, because I'm not even a Apple user, if you're more familiar with Apple products, you know this much better, I guess. But for me, I was like, where is it? I cannot find it. I cannot find it. Of course, it has to be somewhere in my library. It can be in the store. But I could not find it until I figured out it adds it automatically somewhere here to the music sessions. And when you go through, you should actually see, then you go in music and you click on library, and then it says recently added. This is where you will find the file you added. So then you click on it, and as you can see, I already assigned also the artwork, but I'll show you how I did it right here. So once the file is open, you click here and you say like album info, show me the info about it. And then here you can see now the song, the artist. I put actually the website in it, and then the album of the artist and the composer. And genre is here definitely a podcast, right? So as you can see in the song title and everything, I tried to keep the naming also clean and everything. And then here in the artwork, this is precisely like just you use any, software that you can use in order to create a nice artwork for your podcast. Just make sure you have the right pixel aspect ratio. It's in a square size, and I think this was 1400 by 1400. And once you have this done, then I basically just went through the settings, and I made sure that the media kind is not music, but I also changed it to podcast, right? So, and once this is done, I triple checked like sorting, files, whatever I could find in here. Of course, my description, right? So I kept this pretty short, but I put some notes in it that I really know what's going on, and my release date. And once this is done, I click OK. So, and then you will see, oops, now it's gone. It was for me confusing at the beginning, but then you realize, oh, now it is kind of gone from my recently added music folder, and now you have to switch to podcast. And if you switch to podcast, here we go. Now there is the file. You can click on it, and if the audio is on, because I turned it off here, you will then also hear it, how the show is running. So that's about it. So I wanted to show you this as well, because I think it's really important that you go through the file settings also in your meta tags, and you double and triple check everything before you upload these files either to your web hosting company or to your podcast host company, whatever you choose. Like I said before, I prefer, if I don't have a huge audience and I don't have lots of people listening to it, I know that the traffic isn't going to be super crazy, especially at the beginning, then it's okay if you have the web space and if you have also the bandwidth to put it on your web hosting server directly, and this is what I did. So otherwise, of course, if you have already a nice audience and lots of people and lots of visitors, then of course it's always better and recommended if you use an additional audio host or podcast hosting company, because they just have the strong service for it, and then you can always make sure that your files are reachable and people can listen to you. So I hope this helps you as well, and see you then in the next video. Have fun and take care.